Well, it looks like we've got Peter Mullen back. The dream team is back, Peter. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Look, today's session of Health and Wellbeing, we're not doing a specific ailment as such. We're taking it right back to basics, and we're going to find out a bit about you and what you do.
Well, I thought that's a good bit of a revisit. You know, we've been on this show now for a couple of years and talking about, you know, lots of health conditions and how people can help themselves naturally. But I thought that was a great point. Come back to actually what it is that a naturopath does and, you know, whether that's going to be able to help someone.
It will be a great place to start. And, of course, we'll also take some calls later. If you would like to ask Peter about, you know, you haven't been to a naturopath yet, you're thinking about it, maybe Peter can set you in the right direction. Sound good?
Sounds good.
What is the idea behind a naturopath? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's a very big, broad question, Mark.
Okay, let's start at the start.
That's a good start. So it's basically an approach to health and wellness that's philosophically based in essence. So, you know, seeing a naturopath is similar to going and seeing a GP. Like most people come and see us because they actually have a health condition. The difference is, I like to think that, you know, when you see more a GP, it's a bit more of a mechanistic approach in that you're prescribed a medication to treat your symptoms. From a naturopathic point of view, one of the basic underlying principles that we have is that, you know, everybody has its own inherent ability to heal itself. So we like to think that, you know, there's always room for improvement in someone's health and well-being, and that there's always this potential for the body to be able to heal itself. So
I love that concept that everything we need to heal ourselves, it's already here.
Yeah, and for all sorts of reasons that doesn't always pan out for a lot of people, but that's one of the underlying principles. And that basically, you know, my role as a naturopath is to firstly help people understand how they've arrived where they are, you know, what other factors have played a role, hopefully uncover the underlying causes of what's actually going on for their current health symptoms, and then use means to, you know, remove potential causes of those problems, but also use supplements or medicines or natural medicines, dietary and lifestyle recommendations to encourage this body's natural healing ability so that the body can, because ultimately, if you go to the doctor or you go to the naturopath, like the doctor doesn't heal your body, the naturopath doesn't heal your body, hopefully your body heals itself. Sometimes though there's extra things, or very often there's extra things that you could be or should be doing that's going to actually facilitate that process.
When people come into your practice and you start going through some of these things with them, do they seem a bit surprised in the approach that you have, or is it people generally okay with what happens?
Oh, look, it varies. You know, and again, you know, education at the moment, health-wise, is all about, you know, a pill for an ill. So a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a certain number of new patients that I would see would come in expecting, rather than taking, say, a drug or a medication for, say, their arthritis, they want to try some turmeric, or they want to try some glucosamine and chondroitin, which is fine from a symptomatic point of view, but you know, and a lot of people going to the health food store or the supermarket, you know, are self-prescribing and buying supplements just to treat their symptoms. Unfortunately, approaching health like that is only going to give you limited results. You know, turmeric is a fantastic supplement for inflammation, for arthritis, but you also need to address, you know, some of the underlying causes, which could be, you know, an acidic body chemistry or, you know, totally the wrong diet for them. So if you're just taking the turmeric, you may get some relief, but you're not going to slow down the disease process, if that makes sense.
No, I think it does. So yes, we don't want to just fix what's happening now. We want to also go, okay, well, what's led you to be in the situation you're in? Let's take it back a step or two and see if we can get you on a completely different path so that we can move away from the ailment.
Absolutely. And one of the second principles, or the second principles from a naturopathic body point of view, is that we look at the body as a whole. You know, we sort of adopted that Eastern philosophy of we're not just a physical body, you know, we're also an emotional body, a mental body, and we're also a spiritual body or spiritual being as well. You only have to look at how much health has changed even from a conventional point of view. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if you went to a doctor and said you were stressed, they literally would have told you there is no such thing as stress. 25 years ago, I remember a patient coming in telling me that the doctor told her there's no such thing as stress. It's a new age concept.
Wow.
So how far? So now, you go to a GP or you go to a naturopath, and we'll talk about how much stress plays a big impact, and why we're looking at this massive increase in anxiety and depression that wasn't around 25 years ago. So we now accept from a Western point of view that yes, stress, emotional and mental well-being does play a big effect on our physical health. So yeah, so we come from that point of view that it's not just a physical problem. We also, when we have the discussion with, say, someone about their arthritis, we also take into consideration the mental and emotional components as well that may have been causative or linked to.
Yeah, because as you've been saying, all of those things, they're all part of the whole big,
whole big picture.
Big picture that's going on inside our body. When you do prescribe your natural medicines, everything is scientifically proven, isn't it? Like it's not just something that's just random. Let's just try this, give that a go. But everything, there is a basis behind everything that you're prescribing, isn't there?
Well, look, there is for some things more and more. The catch cry of the orthodox community has been that naturopaths and natural medicines aren't evidence based. And to a large degree, they're right. Like certain naturopathic medicines are evidence-based because people have spent the money and done studies and trials and tests. So say a pharmaceutical company is launching a new product on the market, they have to have all the studies and trials to go through it to get that product approved. And obviously they want those studies and trials to show confirmation that product, that medication is going to have a result. So they're already evidence-based. They have to be evidence-based to actually be able to prescribe and have that product on the market. A good example is something like some of the herbs we use. Some of the herbs we use have been used for thousands of years. And there's sort of a historical use and historical evidence as to what they actually do help with. But no one's gone to the time and effort of testing all of those herbs because, number one, they can't then make it into a product that they can sell. The difference is, so I guess what I'm saying is like products like St. John's wort, there's great evidence-based research around that, echinacea, magnesium, zinc, like there's a growing body of evidence-based research, but we still use a lot of the principles and practices of natural medicine and we still prescribe supplements that maybe haven't had that rigorous testing, but over time and usage have been found to be very effective for helping.
How do you overcome the doubt that some people may have when you're explaining some of these things? Because, like you said, some of the medicines, yes, they've got the runs on the board, so as to speak, but some people might say, well, you're going to tell me to take this and try this, but where's the evidence? How do you get around that?
Look, it's probably look, for some people it is a challenge. Like I've a lot of naturopaths have been treating people for a lot of years. So one of the things that we develop in practice is we develop certainty with what we use and what we know works well in the majority of cases, etc., etc. Diet's always a good example. I always say to patients, look, these are my recommendations. However, don't just go off what I tell you. If you cut that out of your diet and your symptoms go away, and then you include that back in your diet and your symptoms all come back, then that's evidence to you that, yes, that product or that food agrees with you or doesn't agree with you. So, and it's often the same with say I make you up a specific herb mix, where I might include different herbs, some of them evidence-based, some of them may be lacking some of those studies. But on that herb mix, again, your symptoms improve dramatically, you're feeling much better. Then again, that sometimes helps because we do get non-believers in. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And my goal is to convert them to be believers, but not believers so much in individual products or individual herbs, but believers more in the bigger picture of that their body's working to heal itself, and that if you can develop that awareness or mindfulness yourself, then that's a big part of your healing ability.
More a believer in the concept rather.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do like the idea of taking food out and putting it back in. Does that mean I can put the pies and sausage rolls back in? No?
Well, you could, but I would imagine all your digestive symptoms would come back again, Mark.
They probably would. Look, we might open it up. If you'd like to ask Peter a question, maybe you've been thinking about going to a naturopath, that's been something that's on your mind. Peter's right here answering those questions, and he'll do this one for free for you. I invite you, Peter. Free.
Yeah,
we're not charging for these.
Not charging at all.
Not today. And we asked for a couple of callers. We have got them. Trish, you'd like to talk to Peter. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mark and Peter. Yes, Peter, I was very interested to hear what you said a moment ago about having an acidic body or whatever giving rise to arthritis. I've been suffering arthritis for years, and I just thought it was something that happened with old age, but I gather there are factors that trigger it and things that I might be able to do about it.
Yeah, look, definitely, Trish. Like osteoarthritis particularly does tend to run in families. So I do think there's a familial predisposition. And one of the things that we do or track when someone has something like osteoarthritis is we'll test their urine and saliva pH. And that sort of gives us an idea whether the body then is also under an acid stress. So, and that's going to contribute to inflammation and degenerative change.
Right. Okay. And taking things like glucosamine sulfate and fish oil and curcumin in the meantime may help the symptoms?
Absolutely, they will all help. And looking at, ways to help alkalinize your body chemistry. So we've talked about that briefly on the show before about having lemon in water or including apple cider vinegar in your water before meals.
Right.
While they're weak acids, they do stimulate an alkaline response. And also trying to follow a more alkaline diet.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Wonderful. Trish, thank you so much for that. Peter, you mentioned the alkaline diet. Just very quickly, a couple of the things that may push us in that direction.
Lots of greens. Green. So green smoothies in the morning, English spinach, rocket, all your vegetables, anything that burns down to an alkaline ash. So more of your fruits, vegetables and salad, less of your meats, grains, sugars, caffeine, alcohol. They all tend to be quite acidic. But Trish is more than happy. If she wants more information, she can ring up our office and someone there will be able to help give us some suggestions about diet.
Wonderful. Hope you got some great info there. Trish, Brenda, you've got a question for Peter also?
Yes, please.
Yep, go for it, Brenda.
Okay. With these supplements that you can purchase to help a problem you've got, my main problem with all this, they give an ingredient list,
Yes.
and then at the bottom they'll say free from or no added. Now, in particular, I have a great problem with soy. I cannot digest soy. I've been through allergy clinics years ago. It's not a thing in my head, it's a fact.
Yes.
But anyway, if that's not in that bottom sentence, it is invariably in the list of ingredients, but it's not listed. Now, I have been onto companies. I've been onto companies about this, and it's shock horror sometimes. Others will say, yes, it does. It is soy. It's what do they call it? I think it's an incipient. Is that the right word?
Yeah, an excipient.
Yeah, something like that. In the capsules, if it's a soft gel, it's the oil. If it's a hard case capsule, it's the powder or flour, or whatever they like to call it.
Yes.
But even some powder form supplements, it's in that as well. That I couldn't believe, but that is the case.
Look,
now, how can we get this more clearly on the labels?
Look, I think because they come under the listing of an excipient, which is basically meaning just a filler, and because, they don't have to legally sort of put that on the product, I don't know that that's going to change. However, there's definitely, when you come to supplements, there's definitely really good quality, well-made supplements. And then there's cheaper supplements where they use a lot of these excipients and fillers that, from a health point of view, you wouldn't want to include into your diet anyway.
That's right.
My tip would be to find a brand or a range that, and I always think that the practitioner-only line are the best quality products you can get. Find a brand that, you have well-researched what's in it, and just keep checking, Brenda. Unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to change anytime soon, but basically, the cheaper the supplement, I know this sounds like a silly comment, but the cheaper the supplement, the more likely there will be a lot of extra excipients and fillers in there that, people really need to double check.
Some great information for you, Brenda. Now, Peter, you mentioned diet a lot in those phone calls there. When we go and see and visit a naturopath, is that one of the things that the naturopath will be going through with you? And there are some other things also that you'll be taking through?
Yeah, well, look, the first step for us from a naturopathic point of view is to give someone a really good assessment of where their whole health's up to. And, another principle of naturopathy, as well as, the body's ability to heal itself, that we're a physical, emotional, mental and spiritual being. And number 3 is that prevention. We really believe that prevention is better than cure.
I'm going to throw one more question at you before we head out for a moment. Is the difference between a naturopath and a nutritionist?
Yeah, well, look, we'll talk about diet because diet's probably the cornerstone of what we do from a naturopathic point of view. Again, first assessing where someone's health's up to, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But from a diet point of view, we really are not just what we eat, but what we eat and can then absorb or digest. When we're 20, we can often eat and drink anything and get away with it.
Didn't I know it?
Unfortunately, we can't digest. We can't eat the same way. We need to eat easier to digest food and less food quantity wise. So, say with Trish's question about arthritis and a more alkaline diet. We would often recommend a low inflammatory diet for starters. We can do food intolerance testing. With Trish, we would also monitor her pH, checking urine and saliva, and we may actually get her onto some supplements that contain things like potassium citrate to actually start to straight away give her a more alkaline advantage. Because it's in treating something like arthritis, you need to treat the whole balance of the system, not just the joints. And of course, depending on wear and tear. So diet's critical. What diet works well for some people is not necessarily the diet that's going to work well for someone else. But diet's cornerstone to what we do. And the trick is to work out exactly what is the right diet for you.
That is very tricky.
When you see a nutritionist, again, nutritionists have studied food and nutrition, the effects of food and nutrition on lifestyle. Some nutritionists, in my experience, and this is a generalization, but are fantastic. They've kept up with the latest information. They would recommend a lot of things similar to what we do. Some nutritionists still follow the old food pyramid model, where you need to have lots of cereals and grains and dairy's a food group. And, we don't go from that point of view. But the difference is, say for someone with irritable bowel, if you see a nutritionist and they recommend the FODMAP diet, which is fantastic. It's the newest diet for helping to reduce the symptoms of IBS. They'll take you off all those foods, hopefully settle things down, and then you'll get better. But from a naturopathic point of view, we'll still recommend off those foods, but we also work underneath at maybe detoxing and repairing the gut so that down the track you have better leeway or better tolerance. So we're not just removing and reintroducing foods, we're also fixing the underlying problems.
Okay, thank you for clearing that for us, Peter. Well, we're just wrapping up today, Peter. We will continue this topic next week because it's very fascinating to find out what you guys do and your approach to health generally, that's for sure.
And we seem to be getting some calls through, so I think people are interested. So yeah, we'll go over that a bit again next time, Mark. Great idea.
We certainly will. So if you've missed out today, keep the number handy and we'll get to you next week. You've got some talks coming up, Peter.
Yep, 23rd of May, a free talk on natural remedies for helping support people with breast cancer. And on the 13th of June, natural remedies for menopause. So a bit of a hot topic, pardon the pun.
There he is. Thank you, Peter.
My pleasure.
Okay. And if we would like to find out a little bit more, we can book online for those free talks.
Yep. If they people just go to our website, mullenhealth.com.au, and they'll find all the information there and how to book online.
Wonderful. Peter Mullen back joining us next Tuesday afternoon for Health and Wellbeing. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon.